Hello and welcome to episode 6. 6 it could be quite significant because 24 hours ago we met the 666. We met the devil of West Ham as we sat down for a meeting with her across from the table. The club have been telling you this last week, go watch the 10 angles of Andy Carroll's goal. Well, there's only one angle for me, which is my webcam. There's only one angle for Gonzo, which is his toilet cam. But not everyone's got one of them in his house. But, well, you've probably seen it, but just to give you a very brief thing, last night, I think there's 13 of us in total from various West Ham media outlets, bloggers, vloggers, and forums. We went to meet Karren Brady and her sidekick Tara, just the two of them. Max was there and Paul was there and Jack Sullivan was there as well. They didn't speak. They just sat in corners of the room and let the fans speak. And Gonzo was very, what would you describe it as, open, honest, fair?
Yeah, I mean, it was a funny one because we watched Nicky's video earlier, and in it Nicky said that he had a sort of preconceived idea and he was a little bit worried. He was a little bit cynical about what was going to go on there, which I can sort of understand. And I perhaps wasn't as much. I'd sort of went in with a little bit more of an open mind, but even that, I think I was a little bit taken aback by how sort of honest and frank we were allowed to be. And you actually pointed it out, didn't you? The first thing she sat down and said was, right, I don't have an agenda. What do you lot want to discuss? Which was, there was an immediate sort of silence in the room straight away, trying to figure out who went first, even though I'd walked in there with a list of 10 things that I wanted to discuss.
Well, as you may have seen, we did a video last night very quickly, but I'm going to be very honest. I had like a mind freeze for some reason. I can remember 90 minutes of football up here and go do a review and no notes about it, but when I went to do a quick chat about the meeting, I couldn't remember what we spoke about. And then I did say to people, ask me any questions. So today I've been on our forum and I've answered every single person's question on that forum, and it's the best way because whenever you ask a question, it triggers my memory and I think, well, actually no, we didn't discuss it. Yes, we did. And tonight me and Gonzo are just going to go through everything in a little bit more detail as to what got said, really. As we said, it was very honest. I was a bit like Nicky, actually. I was quite sceptical. I've said it before in our shows where the SAB comes up, I said I'm not going because I think it's a PR exercise. I'm not going to the SAB. So when we got phoned about this, I said, well, I had to get my arm twisted a little bit. But when I started to believe that it was going to be real, I thought, I'm going to go for this one. And right enough, like you said, Karren at the very start said, what do you guys want to talk about? So the first thing we spoke about in the meeting, which the meeting was meant to last 2 hours, it lasted 3 hours. The first thing we brought up, though, and it lasted probably about an hour or something at least, was the stewarding. What do you want to talk about the stewarding? I've got a lot of notes tonight, but what do you want to mention about the stewarding?
Before I do, I just on a bigger picture, because we're going to start going through things in a little bit of finer detail, and there's been a sort of overview. I mean, I got back midnight, uploaded the video, went out to work today. I've not been on social media as much as yourself, and certainly not been on the forum answering questions all day. So I think before we go into small detail, there's probably I just want to give a little bit of overview because there's been a couple of questions which I noticed, which I think we've got to address it. The first couple of things where people were a bit worried that it was going to be a bit of a stitch up, a little bit of a PR exercise, like you mentioned. And I just want to say that I was really very, very impressed with everybody in there, because we've got a bunch of YouTubers, vloggers, podcasters, or whatever. Anyone could have gone in there with any sort of agenda, yet not one person did. Everybody, to a man in that room, was asking questions to the benefit of the fans, and they were hard questions as well. And I just really wanted to say that was very, very impressive. And there were a few people in particular in that room who just really, really pushed hard on behalf of the fans. It didn't make any difference to them personally, but actually you could tell people have been on whatever their sites or their podcasts or whatever the case may be, and left comments and said, I'm not happy about this. And I just want to really let everybody know that was absolutely conveyed by everybody in there. And it wasn't some sort of whitewash where everybody sort of bowed down and said yes to everything. There was some harsh words spoken in that room.
I think the minor points will prove that. I think minor points have proved that. I think we went in with a lot of questions. We got an answer to everything. It wasn't always the answer we wanted. There's disappointing things. while it was a positive meeting, some of the answers were not what we wanted to hear, but we got an answer. And I think that's what was the main thing for me. But the stewards, I'll let you talk about it first, because you clearly don't have notes in front of you as much as I do, because I've spent the day going through social media and reading fans' opinions, etc.
Well, the reason I don't have notes, that was one of the reasons. The second reason, I think it's probably worth noting that we've actually heard, and worth saying, I think because Sean's even put it out now anyway, that we've heard back today. We've had a response with a lot of the stuff being detailed that we put up last night. Basically, Karren Brady has emailed a bunch of us back today and said, look, these are the things we're looking to put into action. So there was a lot of things that were addressed, and there are some promising things there. The first one, the stewarding. The big thing was the West Ham stewarding. Why have we not got enough West Ham stewards in there? And the question was asked. The other thing was the stewards that are in there now, they didn't seem to be football stewards. They didn't seem to be, certainly not West Ham stewards, and they certainly didn't seem to really be able to handle a hostile football crowd. And let's be perfectly honest with you, I don't mean it's hostile in terms of throwing things and beating each other up. I mean hostility in terms of when Watford are thrashing you, and you're shouting out and you're shouting at the you're shouting at the pitch and shouting at all the positions on the pitch. I think they struggled to cope with it, and particularly areas where people had started to stand, they just didn't know how to deal with it. So we wanted to know why has this happened? Why are these stewards there? Why are there no West Ham fans in there? Where are the West Ham stewards? What has happened to them? And why have we got a load of people who don't seem to know what they're doing in those positions? That was pretty much what was asked, right?
Yeah, and well, to be fair, I think she half admitted that she was when tonight. At no point are we given a direct quote from Karren Brady, because we weren't allowed to record anything, and so none of this is a direct quote. But she basically pretty much admitted that the stewarding wasn't to the standard they hoped, and that they'd be working closely to say get this sorted. And she said that at the start they were picking certificates over experience with football crowds, and that's why there was people in more prominent areas that shouldn't have been, and they're working to change that. And 75% of Upton Park fans are now in the same position they were in Upton Park, but they're still trying to increase that percentage. They're still not happy with 75%. She also said that while everyone at Upton Park offered a job or an interview, at very least, to go to the LS 185, and they didn't take it, there was a pay drop, because West Ham paid the London living wage, but LS 185 don't. However, the club are pushing LS 185 to pay the London living wage, and they're putting out, I wouldn't call it a last plea, it might be the last plea, but they're putting out another plea to say to the former Upton Park stewards, come back and work for West Ham. Well, it won't be West Ham. Come back and work for LS 185 in the West Ham ground and start making this place a home. The Upton Park stewards have been put into 113 because that's where they felt that football stewards were required. People with a little bit of know how to deal with football fans, get in there and deal with football fans. And that's why you've seen at Crystal Palace, that's why you've seen the fans bouncing around, because the stewards have been told not to go into football area, not to go into the crowd unless it's absolutely necessary. If everyone's standing and there's no one complaining, just leave them. They've been advised that use your common sense a bit more. And I think everyone in the room started to kind of agree that it has improved. It's still improved, but it's improved since the very first game of the season.
Yeah, I think the big improvement was at Crystal Palace. Now, what remains to be seen is whether that was because we won 3-0 or because the stewards had been implemented there. But having said that, I mean, there's no reason to believe that there are any lies going on there. And I think that was a really, really big thing. Don't go in unless it's absolutely necessary. And I think at the start of the season, there were people going in there when it wasn't necessary at all. Also, you had some quite strange stewarding going on. I think the common sense thing you said is, use your common sense. I think sometimes you can be the most qualified person in the world and have no common sense. One thing we do know is the Upton Park stewards who had experience at dealing with the football crowd do have that natural common sense. They do sort of know, hold on, they're jumping up. because the referee has made a terrible decision. That's why everyone's shouting and screaming, not because they're all going to run and beat me up, which I think was something that perhaps, you know what, as I say, if you're 18 and you've done your whatever MVQ or whatever the thing is, right, but you've only ever done a One Direction concert before, I'm sure when 1,000 people stand up and start screaming, you're probably thinking, what do I do, what do I do? So it was the right move to put the West Ham stewards in the areas of the ground where they were going to be more vociferous. And I just want to say this while we're on it. I mean, I actually said to Karren Brady myself, obviously there's a direct correlation between people in those areas and the atmosphere at the ground. And as soon as I said that to her, you'll remember this. And she said, well, of course, she said the last thing we want to do is dampen the atmosphere in the ground. So I think they understand that a lot of atmosphere is coming from in those sections because they're singing the most. And I think that the nice thing was it started to be recognised. It was recognised from the club. So, and it looks like going forward, that's going to be a permanent fixture.
The other thing we campaigned, I wouldn't say campaign, that we fought quite hard about, actually. This was one thing we were quite passionate about in there, was the videoing of 114. We're saying, why is that lady that everyone knows about now, why is she still there with her camera filming fans, pissing fans off? Why is she there? And we got told it was relating to the coin incident with Chelsea. There's the coin throwers, and they're trying to pinpoint exactly who it was, etc. And we said, well, there hasn't been any incident since. And she said no. So we said, so why are they still there? And she agreed that LS185 need to maybe look at seizing the video or at the very least backing off a little bit, etc. And that's something that the club was going to talk to LS185 about and say, well, they've got a point. Why are you still filming? If we've gone so many games without any trouble at all, why are you still filming in that area and such? And the searches, we've been told the searches are going to, the club have been concerned about the searches. They are aware the searches are taking far too long outside the ground. The City game, at least, the kids won't be getting searched, and they've asked for more body scanners, etc., to speed up the process, to get the fans in the ground quicker. And safe standing, we're kind of touched on that, but it was wrapped in with the steward, and she just said upper tier, it's way too dangerous. It's an absolute no in the upper tiers.
Well, you've got to separate the safe standing from the sort of standing that might be allowed in celebration. The safe standing is what Celtic have got. That's something different. The safe standing, what we're talking about, is when people stand up during the game, as the seating configuration currently is, and so that's because people will get caught up with the difference between that. I mean, the safe standing, which was also discussed with what Celtic got, she said that's a Premier League decision. The 14 Premier League clubs at least have got to come to an agreement on that, and that's not happening anytime soon. In terms of the people that are standing during the matches at the moment, there's no official word from the club on that. I think we've got to say the club are not saying you can stand up. However, there's West Ham stewards in those areas. They're being asked to use a little bit of common sense. And, if you're listening to this, you can probably use a bit of common sense as well and read between the lines. What Gio is saying is very, very important. The upper areas where we sit, this for safety reasons, there's quite a big drop over the edge of the barriers there. So there's no standing permitted at all in those areas.
What she did say about the lower tier, she said it sorted itself out a bit. They've relocated fans who want to be relocated. However, I have seen a couple of fans today that said, well, hang on, I want to be relocated and I've not been relocated. Now, Graham Howlett, and he's on Mother Brown, is collating a list of people that are one of these people that says, well, I want to relocate. I've not been relocated yet. Because we did get told in the meeting that, as far as they're aware, everyone that wanted to be moved has been moved. For proper reasons, you can't just say I don't like the guy next to me. That's not a proper reason. But if you're in an area where it's standing and you really need to sit, etc., you can get in touch. Now, Graham Howlett is getting a list and going to the club going, well, here's a list of people that want to move. There you are. So you can get in touch with him, the editor at kumb.com. Hopefully he won't mind me pointing him in his direction. But the supporter liaison officers, this is kind of like not a West Ham steward, but the next best thing they can do without pissing off LS 185. This seems to be like a happy medium where the club are thinking, let's get our people on the ground. Our people are going to be the first people that the fans see when they come up to the ground. And they've increased every single game. It was 10, then it was 20, and there's going to be 30 in place for the Man City game. She wants 50 eventually, very soon, but it's going to be 30 for the Man City one. The sport liaisons, I felt, was something that the room, everyone in there agreed it was a positive step, but there was something that Karren, I thought, came across as being quite passionate about, thinking that these guys could be a very good link between stewards and fans, and she would also get a lot of feedback from them that she wouldn't necessarily get from LS 185.
Well, and I mean, I was making notes during the thing, and I've actually got right here. She wants to get 50 of the right-minded individuals who are also West Ham United supporters. Okay, so I think that was quite clear. She wants the liaison officers, the SLOs, to be able to understand the fans, and you know what, you can go along with that, and you can absolutely understand why she would want that to happen, because she openly admitted that not all, how could they be, all the new stewards are the fans. We've gone from 300 stewards to 1,000. They're not all going to be West Ham fans. So, yeah, I think she's very keen for the SLOs to be West Ham fans.
Seating was said. A lot of you guys have been saying about seating. Now, this is the bad news, unfortunately. I think if there was bad news that come out of this meeting, it was this. This seating just is not moving any closer to that pitch for as long as it's government owned. It is not moving. There is a tender in place, but that's to change the structure of the seating and to speed up the process, essentially. It's not going to move the seats any closer to that football pitch. The reason sounds like, one, the roof, but the main reason, two, is that in order to move it closer, you have to dig down, and digging down means getting rid of the running track. And while all the West Ham fans are saying, "Ah, brilliant, do it," it's just not feasible while it's government owned. And I think she was quite. I think that was an end to that discussion pretty quickly. And while it wasn't the answer we wanted in that room, we got the answer. Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a case of us just getting everything, as you say, that we wanted to hear. There were lots of yeses in that room, but there were also some no's as well. And you know what? It's not what we wanted to hear. We'd all like to hear that those seats could be moved further forward. But what we're going to do, we're going to, you know, if there's nothing can be done, I'm afraid there's nothing can be done. We've got to make the best of what's happening there at the moment, you know?
Keywords. This is from a fan's perspective, from what I picked up on. She did say, well, it was government owned. She certainly didn't say, oh, if ever it gets bought or whatever, it just won't happen. But she did say, well, it's government owned, it's not changing, and that's that. We also brought up the question, can we change the colours of the seats? There's too much white seats. And her theory was it costs too much money, and she would rather see fans in those seats than them being claret. But she did get our point on that, and I think she didn't say they're going to look at it, but she certainly wrote stuff down while we were talking about these claret seats. I wouldn't be surprised if she goes away and looks at it a little bit more detail, and she could see our point. She could see our point on that, and it was one of those things that just we went on to and we got off it pretty quick because we got quite a definitive answer from her. She straight away said, "We're not doing it. There's no plans to do it. It costs a lot of money." We gave our reasons, and like I said, she took a note. I would say watch the space on that, but there's nothing about claret seats. Season tickets. Would you like to touch on season tickets?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about how the season tickets were allocated and how they were issued. So the +2 was a big thing.
She got a hard time.
She did. She did. I would suggest there were 2 or 3 issues in there which took up a lot of time. As you said, we were in there for over 3 hours. That took up a chunk. There's no doubt about that. There was a lot of people felt they were stitched up in that reservation centre, and you can understand why. Again, Karren's opinion on it was, well, you know, we were going from whatever 35,000 to a 57,000. We had to try and fill them some way, and in some times people are gonna someone's gonna miss out. The example she gave was if somebody had been on the season ticket waiting list for ages and they had got married or had children, there's no way that they could get that person to sit next to them. So the +2 was opened up for that. So obviously, as we all know, there was a lot of non-West Ham fans who took up those seats. We wanted day trippers, if you like, who wanted to give it a go. And I guess, of course, we did need to introduce some new fans to it, but I think there's been a little bit too much of those type of people taking advantage of it. So yeah, I think she got a bit of a hard time on the +2, but she was steadfast. Again, it was another thing. She said, well, hold on, we had to do something, and and she stuck to her guns.
She was firm. She was firm on that. She didn't say they made a mistake on that, but she listened to us. She listened to our opinion. She let us have her say. She tried to explain from a club's perspective as to why they did the +2, and she still believes in it. And fair, I don't want her to lie to us and go, yeah, okay, I see your point. Oh, if she believes in it, she believes in it. Then that's why we keep saying it was honest, because she was still honest and said, well, actually, I think we did the right thing. I mean, yes, okay, well, you might not be happy, but overall, we feel that we couldn't please everyone, but we think we've pleased the majority. And
yes, I was just about to say, when she was saying no, I think if someone's saying no to you, you're more inclined to believe them when they say yes.
Yeah, there is that. I mean, what I will say for the season tickets, there is a positive. That is when season ticket holders right now renew, but they want to move seats, when they want to relocate, the club are going to have open days or open events where you go in and you see the seat before you buy it. You see the view before you buy it. And I think that's huge, because that's not something that was physically possible when we went for our reservation centre. But going forward, and it sounds like the new ones are getting the option as well, going forward, when you go to get a season ticket now for moving or a new one, you will get taken into the ground and shown your seat as if say, this is your view, you're happy with that, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's a big positive, actually. I think that's something that they've obviously listened to when people said, well, my view on the screen did not match up with what I've actually got. And I think they thought, well, the only way to get rid of that is by getting rid of that screen. So how do we do that? We take them in the ground, and sounds like that's what they're planning on doing. That's what we got told at the meeting. That's what they're planning on doing. We have applied, or this week, they hope this week to apply for the extra 3,000, and she did say that again the priority would be to see about getting 114 back into that area, but she also said that they might do half season tickets, but I don't think she committed to a number on that. I think Sean said all 3,000 were half season tickets. I don't remember her saying that. I don't remember her saying that.
I thought, and this is only my opinion, that it was 1,500. That's what I thought. I might have heard wrong.
I don't think she gave a figure, but I think she said half before via Twitter or something. But I don't think she said all 3,000, which I know was on Sean's one. But it's just to put it out there that I'm not convinced she said that. But we were there for 3 hours. It's very easy to pick something up wrong, remember something incorrectly. But that's why I've gone season tickets. What I will say, what surprised me, I don't think I've seen anyone put it out there, because this was something quite minor. She didn't really make a big deal out of this. When we were talking about the ticket exchange and people not turning up, they did say the figure of people that have never been to a game this season, and it was under 300. There was less than 300 season tickets that have not been used once, and they did say that sometimes there are circumstances, etc. But less than 300 people have not turned up, and they did try and say, well, we've got 54,000 people in there now. 300 of that's quite small, but the ticket exchange, they did say that they're going to put up a list of to how much money you will get in credit for each game, etc. So you can understand why you're only getting such and such for Palace, but you're getting a bit more for Arsenal, etc. They're going to give you the breakdown, essentially. And I think that's encouraging anyway. I think they listen to us for the ticket exchange.
Yeah, I mean, that was quite quite feisty, that particular bit as well. But what I would say on that, there was a lot of stuff we were talking about that she knew about. So she'd say, yeah, no, and she'd come back and she would answer, and she'd say, well, hold on, this is because of this, and the reason for this is because of this. When we said about the ticket exchange, and particularly that, she was a little bit taken aback, particularly with I think it was, and you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong, because there were so many details, with the fact that the club might be making some big profit on it, and then she wanted to clear up and say, actually, no, hold on, Ticketmaster are making booking money here and stuff like that. So I think she was a bit taken aback by that, and I think the intention is to clarify that on the official website, just to show that actually, how much is going in booking fees and resale fees to Ticketmaster, which again, if that is the case, then maybe that is something that needs to be looked at in the future. If Ticketmaster are taking some huge slice of the pie, then maybe that's something to look at.
What else was brought up with ticketing? We said, what is this Thomas Cook deal, and why have they got some decent tickets? And she actually said the Thomas Cook contract's been ripped up. It's not there. But It is the ticket. You can still buy the tickets on Thomas Cook's. I said it last night, and I went. And the first thing I did was check if the link, and the link is still there. I can still go on Thomas Cook right now, but the club did say they're going to look into that ASAP. Because as far as they were concerned, you could not buy tickets, and they're looking into that. So hopefully the Thomas Cook thing will be a bit more clearer. There is still going to be a Thomas Cook link, but it's just not going to be as beneficial to them as it used to be. If you like, they're going to try and get them tickets where it's going to be dotted around the ground, and they're not going to have this one block right next to the away fans anymore. So kind of the club on that one, actually, I think the club did listen to the fans and say, this ain't right, you can't have that area next to away fans. So that's that. Hopefully we'll find out soon about get clarification, because you can still get it on their website. I did check tonight. Agent Mother Brown mentioned that fans from Stratford to the London Stadium are having to queue for a while, and they might not be registered as disabled, but they are less abled, and they're struggling with the walk. It was quite a difficult one, that one, actually. I think she struggled to sort of come up with an idea there and then, because she was almost saying that they were struggling a little bit with some games because of the building works. They were struggling with the current shuttle buses because they were sometimes getting caught in traffic. So they didn't really want to go throw more buses at it because it would just increase the traffic. Anyway, they cause themselves traffic jams.
Yeah, I've got to say on that one, I thought he really, I'd never met Graham before, and I thought Graham and Brian Williams as well, actually, who are from Blowing Bubbles magazine. I've never met Brian before either, and they very much impressed me. I mean, if you're a reader of Blowing Bubbles or you're on Knees Up Mother Brown, I think you could be really proud of them because they really fought your corner. Would you agree, Gio? That they really did.
I thought everyone did. To be fair,
No, they did. But we've met everyone else. But I think you certain people are going to go in there, and I knew Nicky was going to act in that way and put his opinions forward because we see them all the time. We see him on West Ham Fan TV. So people that are more vocal, and then I'd say I'd never met Graham before, and I thought I was very impressed with how he fought the corner for certainly the people that are struggling in the stadium and struggling with a move and struggling with a transition there. And we're sort of going back a few, which was the seats. I mean, Brian Williams really struggling with his seat, and he pays 800 odd quid for a seat that's set. Was he row 72 at the back on the top tier? I think it was something like that. Was it 72, 73? And I mean, he gave as good as he got as well. And I mean, he thought he made his point really, really well. So yeah, it was good. And yes, on that point, Graham was trying to get a good deal for the. It wasn't just the disabled fans, was it? It was the fans that are not registered disabled, you say, but actually who might not, find the walk particularly easy because it is a long walk from Stratford Station. So any help that can be given to them, that would certainly be very useful.
I think the club are going to look into it. The club does say they're going to look into try and come up with a solution, but they're struggling as well because they've but the shuttle buses and they're already getting delayed sometimes, but not greatly. They're quite happy with their service, but they just think that there's a lot of stuff going on. But they are going to look into that one, so keep your eyes out for that one.
Sorry, just finally on that, because there's a school being built, and also Puddingmill Lane Station's still being built. So actually, there's a building site, lots of cranes and stuff like that. So it's not actually a totally free public highway at the moment, and I think they're we're not hoping, I think they expect it all to be cleared up and the road opens up and it'll be a lot easier at that point. But I mean, actually the whole surrounding area, a lot of it is a building site at the moment because it's undergone such huge regeneration, Stratford, hasn't it, in the last few years?
And more good news and bad news for the same topic. The bad news first, I'm afraid. The vendors, we said, where's the scarf holders and the pin badge sellers? We didn't get a really positive answer on that one. I think it was a case of at Green Street, the pitch was dirt cheap. They could afford it. Now they're on private land. The licensing is quite expensive and it just probably wouldn't be that worthwhile. But it sounded like they had looked into it and they tried their best to support them. But it got to the point they thought, well, this licensing is just not easy, etc. And Westfields, it sounds like it was because they've got shopping trade. They don't want shoppers. If that makes sense. There's something to do with Westfields in there. But it sounded like, again, I wouldn't be surprised if they went away and looked at that as like an extra. They haven't promised us anything. They said they will, but they were certainly scribbling stuff down when we said, well, actually, the fans do want to see this out there. And I think they're going to look into it. But the good news for that is that she made it very clear. She made it very clear. Our popular foodie is being contacted, the rib man, and they're trying to get the rib man into the London Stadium, or they're liaising with the catering company, Delaware North, to try and get him in somewhere around the premises so that he can do what he used to do at the bowling, I guess. And they also mentioned the pie mash, and to be fair, there was a bit of a, what do you call it, a discrepancy, I suppose. We thought that Nathan's wanting to come over, and she said, well, my understanding was that he didn't want to come over. But they are trying to get a pie and mash into the London Stadium. But they're looking into, the reason they haven't said stuff like this before is because she made it very clear. She doesn't want to say there's going to be a pie and mash and then it's just not worthwhile, it's too expensive or whatever. And she breaks a promise. She doesn't want to promise something she can't deliver, essentially. That's why she just doesn't say anything at all. And I felt sorry for her a little bit there, because there was things like the pie and mash that it is quite positive. They're trying to do stuff like that to make it more West Ham. But she's doing her research, she said that she doesn't want fans getting mugged off when they're buying pie and mash, but it's going to be 12 quid, she doesn't want it, so she's trying to do research and trying to stick up for the fans a bit, but that's why she just doesn't say anything, because, give it a week, people go, well, where's this pie and mash that you promised? Well, she's not said it's going to be here in a week. She never gave us a deadline. She didn't say when it's going to be. She just said they're looking into it and they're trying to get it. And
well, she asked as well, Gio. She asked us. She said, as fans, how important is pie and mash? She said, should I be pushing for this? Should I be pushing for this more? And again, it was funny. It was Graham that said, well, hold on, this is sort of an integral East End dish. This is sort of synonymous with who we are as East Enders and West Ham fans, that we do like a bit of pie and mash. And she said, okay, right, fair enough. And you felt that she'd taken those words on board and said, I'm going to go forward and try and pursue this a little bit harder,
Statue. We said, where is the Baltimore statue, please? When is that coming over? And it was very much a case of when, not if. And it sounds like there's, to me, she didn't say this, but it sounds like to me that there's a lot of paperwork and box ticking exercises to do at their end, and before it can get craned off and get over to Stratford. I think there's a lot of, well, we need this, we need something West Ham in place, and we need to do something with the road. I think all that needs to be organised before the statue can get moved over. But it sounded like the club's done all they can. They've done what they have to do, and she seemed quite confident it's coming.
They wanted to open up the junction, I think, on that junction, because there's some new housing and stuff being built. Then I think they're quite keen to open up the junction. So there's no huge desire, I think, from the council, as was my understanding at least, to have the statue remain there, because they need to open up that bit of road space. So it is coming. But one thing that struck me, actually, talking about that, was the amount of health and safety issues that were present on almost everything they had to do. And I certainly felt she was frustrated in a lot that she wanted to do, because of just the wall that you say box ticking. I think that's exactly right, particularly when you don't own the stadium, when you don't own the surrounding area, and you can't control that sort of thing. I think her words were, the badge sellers and the scarf sellers. She said, didn't she? Well, it's there are people down there that were renting out people's front gardens for 20 quid and sticking a scarf stall or a program stall in there. That's just not going to happen, because I guess the ground rent of the LLDC or whoever, there was so many, it was quite complicated, wasn't it? Did you not think that the stadium operator, the land owner, the caterer, I mean, I was quite surprised there's 3 or 4 different elements involved in it, really.
Yeah, it seemed to be there was a lot of hand ties and who actually decides what, etc. It was a bit confusing, we got a lot of names thrown at you, it was easy to get lost a little bit, thinking, well, who are we talking about here? Supporters club, obviously a lot of people have been saying, where is the supporters club? And she tried to say that they've worked hard with the club, but they'll continue to work with the supporters club and get the supporters club over. It sounds like she wants to get it over, and that they were just struggling to find premises nearby, as if to say that there's no room, we don't know where to put them, etc. And in terms of pricing, etc., she's saying, like, she compared it to one of the bars that's already there, which is run by West Ham. She said, well, actually, costs us a lot of money in staffing, etc., for security, and she doesn't know if it would be feasible for the supporters club. But she certainly indicated that they're going to work with the supporters club and try and get them over to Stratford ASAP. And again, keep your eyes on that one, but we'll tell you at the end. We're going to tell you something at the end, kind of. But there was a few things that she said, yes, we can do that straight away. Yes, we'll do that. And it sounds like it's going to be Infinite Man City game, our next home game. Beer. It was yourself that said, well, there's a lot of bars around here that when you go down, there's a big queue. The beer, they then pour the beer. You have to wait. So why it get done? Then Sean said, well, actually, in my section, that is getting done. So there was a quite clear that some just opposite ends of the ground, they're doing different things in their bars. So it's about getting consistency throughout the stadium on the concourse and getting the beer to us quicker, so we've got longer for our half time. That's a yes. Shelves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, just on the beer quickly. I mean, I was quite amazed. That was something I did in my vlog. If you remember my most recent vlog, I said, hold on a second, why have they already poured the beers? We mentioned it to them. They said yes yesterday, and we've had an email confirming it yesterday. And they said, if it's not done, let us know what sections of the ground it's not being done in. Shelving, I think possibly, was it Nikki that mentioned the shelving? It was just yes, straight away. And first of all, she said, what do you mean? And Nikki just said, I've just somewhere to put your beer, basically, when you stood there. So at the moment you're either holding it the whole time or you're having to put it on the floor. And it was just a yes. Once again, we've had another email saying that they're looking for contractors straight away to go out and do that, because obviously it's not just a case of, I don't think there's one caretaker running around who's just going to get his hammer and nails and a bit of wood. Obviously they need someone a contractor to come put it in. They've started looking straight away today, and they want to get them in ASAP. I certainly didn't get the impression from the email that it was something that's going to happen next season. They're looking to get the shelves in very, very quickly. Yeah,
I think they've got liaised with the stadium operators, etc. Get more box ticking, but she's very, very. Karren Brady was very pro. Let's get the shelving in. That's going to help you guys at halftime have a beer. Let's get that shelving in now. Betting, someone said, where's all the betting? And we got told there is some. Do you want more? And we said, well, yeah, we do. We like a bet. And it was a case of, yeah, okay. She did say, do you not do that online? Do you not do betting online? I did say, well, you ain't got us the Wi-Fi yet, Kaz. So we're going to need some stuff. But, so betting, expect some more betway things going around, hopefully in the not so distant future. Flags. This was extra Paul. You said, that concrete is horrible. A lot of people have said this concrete is horrible. So excellent employee said, can we paint it? And to be fair, she did say, well, we've actually asked, can we make it clad or something? And she got told no, because that's for the stadium naming rights, which obviously aren't here yet. And so then you kind of said, well, I've got to ask about flags. Well, I'll let you pick up the flag one.
Yeah, no, ex-employee had 3 or 4 points to make. You said about the concrete. You said they said that had been put aside for sponsors. And I said, well, is there no way that we can just drape flags over there? And Karen said, well, I saw a flag or two there the other day, and Sean said, well, they probably had to sneak that in. So I said, can we just put something in place that is official, so as at least the stewards know that we can carry a flag in, and you're not going to get it confiscated or sent away. And I think she said, well, what sort of thing? As as long as it's sort of sensible and there's no swearing on it or anything like that. So so straight away again, not only did she say yes, she said, let me look into it. I'll see if we can get a little room down here where we actually save you carrying them to and from the game. We'll store them in the room and put them up for you.
Yeah, the club are going to do everything. You said it, the club hand them up, take them down, stored it, put them up, take them down, stored it. There'll be more on that on the official site. I think they just need to make sure to get, again, more box ticking really, but it's like quite clear that there's no reason why this wouldn't happen, and why would a reason like that. So flags are coming. I think that was pretty much what we discussed, wasn't it?
I've been thinking about new stuff all day. I mean, it's really hard. And I took a notebook as well. It's really hard when you're doing in there for 3 hours, particularly. I mean, let's be perfectly frank here. We're not in that line of business. We don't sit around a boardroom table and discuss things like that. So I mean, I was back out tiling a wall today, so we did as best as we could, and yeah, I'm sure there are some things that we've forgotten, but hopefully between us all, Nikki's done a video, Sean has detailed some stuff as well today. Sure, the fellas and Sex, Drugs, Cotton, Coal and X on their radio station will be just. I just think if you David and Blowing Bubbles, there were so many people there, West Ham World, and I'm sure if you go on to their various things, then you'll eventually, between all of us, you'll get all the details of everything. But the great thing is we've been invited back again, which wasn't just said to us yesterday, it's been reiterated today, and they're going to hope to implement those things. And then, so basically the idea is that if you watch Hammers Chat videos or you're on the Hammers Chat forum, you come to us, you tell us, and then we go to them in the same way that, needs like Mother Brown, go to them, and then they'll tell them. So the next meeting, we'll go in there and we give your opinions over.
Right, a first for our live shows. I've got my YouTube chat open here. Charlie's running it. Thank you, Charlie. It's open. Any questions about the meeting? Give me them. We'll answer them right now. We're going to answer your question. You got any questions about the meeting? Put them in the live chat now. We'll answer them. Did it get discussed? What was said, etc. But before you're firing at them, we didn't get to talk about debt. I think when I left, I did say to you first away, I said I wish I asked about debt, but we were there for 3 hours. It was supposed to be 2 hours. It was supposed to be 2 hours. We were there for 3 hours. Also, transfers. We didn't ask about transfers because Karren Brady does not do transfers. She was very honest, and we asked her about stadium stuff, and we told her that the club had made mistakes. The media, actually, that's one thing I could say. We criticised the media. We criticised the club's choice to put the Martin Samuels article on the website. We said that it was quite degrading to fans. We felt that it should not be there. She said she hadn't seen it. She took a note and said that she will look into it as to why it went up, etc. Because we just said that we feel it's unfair that West Ham fans get locked out. Until last night, obviously, West Ham fans are getting knocked out, but there's journalists out there who are taking a piss out of us in the press, that are turning up every week and sitting in the press box, attending Billich's press conferences, and you're putting these articles online slagging the fans off. And we felt that did not go down well. And to be fair to them, she wrote it down, she took note, and she said she'll look into that. But if there's any questions that you're wanting asked, put them on the thing, we'll answer them, because we were there last night. So, and this is the point, it was very honest, and we got told to go share it if you want. So, Vernon is just saying, interested if Karren was genuinely approachable to you all, knowing some of you have spoken openly against her in particular, or she was just going through the motions to say she has done something. What I will say is, I didn't feel judged. I've criticised her. Nikki from West Ham Fan TV's criticised her a lot, etc. And she didn't reference it at all. She just said, everybody introduce yourself, what you got for me. And she took any questions. She did not say, we're not discussing this, or this. She said, what do you want to talk about? And we said, stewards. And she went, well, go on then. What you got to talk about stewards? And she didn't have her staff in there with her. She had one member of staff next to her, but she was kind of taking notes, but she was also a detailed reference point. She's her sidekick at the end of the day, and she knew everything that Karren knew, but Karren did 80% of the talking.
Yeah, I mean, I was very, very impressed. It certainly didn't seem like she had any sort of preordained ideas of what was going to happen. I certainly didn't feel. Listen, I mean, Karren Brady has sat in a room with Daniel Levy, and Daniel Levy allegedly tapped up her phone and tried to stitch her right up, and West Ham. So, she's sat in rooms with far worse people than us who have said and done things about her. So I'm sure she's seen far worse than us anyway. No, I mean, I certainly thought it was open. You can only go by what I don't think she was going through the motions, which was Vernon's original question. I felt it was constructive, and what we've had back today, which as Gio will confirm, is 2 emails already today directly from her, suggests she's not going through the motions. She's actioning this stuff.
Yeah, it does look like she's gone out there and in action. And like I said, I've criticised her a lot. If you tuned in a month ago, I said I wanted her gone. I got to the point with her, Karren Brady, I wanted her gone. I've got a bit of respect for her anyway.
What was it? That was a cup of tea. What one was it? That was a cup of tea about. Was that the Red Bull one? Was that the Red Bull one? West Ham to sell.
No, it was the one before that. We just did it was our very first cup of tea. It ended up being 2 hours long. We just discussed everything really. And I said, if
you have a look, you'll see we're not yes men. If you look at that video,
I wanted her out, and my respect's going up for her. But what I will say is, we're going back in 3 months. She's got 3 months to do this. She says she's going to do it. She's got 3 months to do it. Because if in 3 months' time she ain't done it, that's when we all go in there Why is it not done, Kaz? You said this was going to be done, that's going to be done, that's going to be done. Well, it's not done. Why is it not done? And she did say, if it isn't done, I'm going to have a bloody good answer or something as to why it's not done. But you know, she's committed to this. The club are committed to doing all this now openly. It's not coming from excess employees in the know. This is coming from, as Nicky said in his video earlier, this is coming from the top. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. There's no excuse now. They've got no excuse. There's no excuse. They sat there and said, yeah, we'll make sure the beers are poured at halftime. Well, City, hopefully there's an improvement, but then we've got West Brom, and I think after that we've got Chelsea. If by Chelsea it's still not fixed, I'll say, well, come on then. It's, you know, it's a lot of things. You said you're going to do it. Billy Matthews, then we've got Roy and Ben, all kind of asked the same questions there. Pre-match event, no. We got told no. One, the area, there's not a lot of space. And two, they want to get people into the ground ASAP. And they'd rather give people a reason to go in the ground rather than stay outside the ground, if you like. Would you agree with that, what was said, or
I think slightly. I think it was a no to fan zone outside because she wanted to get people inside the ground. We had enough trouble as it is with people queuing at the last minute to get in. I think what Karren said was it's up to them to do more to encourage people to get in there earlier. So far from saying no to events, I think she was just saying no to events outside. I think she was almost saying yes to more stuff inside to encourage you. And, you know, and it is a big old concourse as well. And that was the point was made. There is a lot of space inside to do something.
What I will say is, if you want a pre-match event, we do boats right around the canal. And come for your way.
You play at table football. I'm very, very good at table football. Undefeated, may I say.
Ben again. Ben's apology for pronouncing it. Soper says, is there anything about banning on things like standing? Now, she did say that she thought banning was coming to an end, but again, this is where she had the right fans in there, because we said, well, actually, no, you haven't, because we've seen on social media literally yesterday, another fan has been banned for standing in abusive language, and she didn't really go into it in detail, but she just said that banning, from her perspective, had cleared up a bit. She said that there was some mistakes made by LS185, and those bans have been rescinded, and the fans are welcome back, etc. And so I don't know. We kind of got told that there had been banning, but she did admit and hold her hands up and say there were some of the bans were mistakes. And
yeah, I mean, Kev from Sex, Drugs and Carl went in quite vociferously at that point, and actually passed over someone's Twitter handle at the point. I said, no, I think this person is having a serious issue on that score as well. So I just, you know, people were really, you know, in there were really batting for the fans. You know, there's no doubt about it.
Sean James has said, how did Jack Sullivan conduct himself during this meeting? What I will say, Sean, I said it on our meeting at the end last night, but Jack did not speak. He spoke about it once because someone referenced to him, right? He spoke about it once and it was very quick. It was a joke type thing. But what I will say is Jack didn't speak at all. He was there for 3 hours. He sat in the corner. He didn't sit at the table with us. He sat behind us. He just observed. He just listened. And I respect him actually for getting in that room with what it could have been a disaster. It could have been. We could have. If she gave us, well, did give us answers, and everyone conducted themselves well. But it could have kicked off. Like for all she knew, and for all Jack knew, it could have went a bit mental in there at some point, but it didn't. It was, and he just sat there. Tom Smith says you're gonna have to expand on this one. I think Tom, you said, do you forgive Karren Brady? Let me know forgive her or what. Ask a more specific question. I'll give you an answer for that one. Because my answer varies, depends on your question.
Just on Jack, Gio. Jack, in many respects, is damned if he does and damned if he doesn't, because if he speaks too much on Twitter, he gets criticised, and if he's sitting there saying nothing, you know, maybe he gets criticised as well. Actually, he just sat there, listened, and took notes, which I think was very, very decent. And I think actually Jack, to be fair, has been doing his work experience at that club, doing a couple of days in each department as well. So. Yeah, I also sorry, I did have a comment yesterday about when I said there were a lot of egos in that room. Someone sort of picked up on it and took it the wrong way. What I meant was there's a lot of people in that room who are not afraid to put their opinions on camera or in print and write things down. And I just think with that in mind, there are a lot of forceful personalities in there, and it actually went very, very, very well. I thought everyone got on tremendously well, and I've got so much respect for the people that were there.
Yeah, Sontag says we sound like the media department. Well, Sontag, mate, if we get beat on Saturday, we won't sound like the bloody media department, that's for sure. Jamie N says, did she admit mistakes? Yes. She didn't say we've made a mistake, but she admitted things could have been better. And at that point, you know, everyone in the room kind of nodded and said, you know what? You've been honest. Finally. It felt like the first time she was actually saying, you know what? I'm going to give my own opinion on Karren at the end, actually. But I felt like she did admit mistakes. I felt like she admitted everyone had made mistakes. Not just West Ham, but LS 185 could have done stuff better. The stewards could be a bit better. She didn't sit there and say the stewards have been perfect. What are you on about? She admitted there's errors. She admitted the searches aren't good enough today. You know, the Crystal Palace game on Saturday. She admitted the searches aren't good enough. So she did say, you know, we're trying. What do you want us to do? It wasn't just a blame culture. It was very much like, give me suggestions. What do you fans want us to do? What do you think should be done? Because when we said about the ticket exchange, she said, well, what will we do about it? What do you want us to do about it? So
she wanted if there was a problem, she wanted a solution, and that was, I think that's admirable, you know.
Hammer Time says, did you find out where young fans can meet the players? We didn't find that out. That didn't come up, but go on the forum and ask a question. We will bring it up to them in the next one and say, well, it's just a minor thing, but this is where supporter liaisons are coming in, and that's where you'll be able to contact the supporter liaison and say, here, where do kids go to meet their heroes, essentially? You will get an answer. I don't know the answer. Gonzo doesn't know the answer. It didn't come up in the meeting, unfortunately, obviously, but Connor Matthews, Gonzo, you can answer this one. Connor Matthews says, was anything said about the atmosphere? We kind of touched upon it, I suppose, but you can just...
Yeah, it was. I mean, in fact, it was something that we discussed, and I mean, I actually said when we were talking about the standing up and the sitting down, I said it had sort of knocked the life out of the atmosphere a little bit, and I said those people that are standing up and singing are probably the people that who have probably been hit the hardest. There's a direct correlation to them making noise and the atmosphere in the stadium. So yeah, we touched upon it there. I think the general consensus is though that there were so many measures talked about the stewarding and that sort of thing that we're sort of hopeful that that's going to improve the atmosphere, you know, just by doing that, and people will feel that they can express themselves without they're going to have their collar felt and be chucked out by a burly steward straight away.
Well, funny you talk about a burly steward touching someone's collar, because Bob Francis says, was the issue of stewards trying to physically search kids discussed? Yes, it was. Briefly, she did say that the kid shouldn't have been searched against Crystal Palace, and someone said the kid did get searched. She said, how old was this kid? We didn't know the answer for sure. In the room, I can't remember who it was specifically, but he did say, I'm not 100% sure, but I know a kid got searched. They are going forward, only female stewards should be searching kids, but certainly for the Man City game, kids should not be searched. And we got told that kids will not be searched for the Man City game, but it should also speed up the process a little bit.
We've also had an email, haven't we, saying that they've ordered loads more of those new scanners as well to help speed it up. People going in. I mean, at the moment, there's not enough of the scanners. You know, they run over people. Today, we had the email today. They've ordered loads more.
Keep your questions coming. I know I've missed a few because I went quite fast at one point, but keep your questions coming. But Gonzo, what was your overall feeling coming out of that meeting? I know we've briefly touched upon it, but just I suppose the day after yesterday, do you know, like I certainly thought about it, I suppose, but
I couldn't believe how much I couldn't believe it was happening. It was all surreal, you know. What did you say to me on the train on the way home? You know, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that, you know, there was no Hammers chat. We weren't doing this, and all of a sudden we're in the room with our opinion. I mean, if you'd have told me years ago when, you know, it was terrible under Terence Brown that one day I'd be able to sit in a room amongst other people and help, you know, put suggestions forward for West Ham to improve, I would never have believed you. I thought you were going mad, and I felt we were doing something yesterday. I also feel that whilst also there was a lot of negativity, I think at the point where almost the olive branch has been offered, then you have to go with it. There's no point sticking around and just saying, well, hold on, I'm going to still hang on to that and I'm going to moan about this. Actually, if someone says, okay, well, look, we understand your problems. What are your solutions? How can we help to go forward? Then I thought it was a positive step. And I just think that in terms of a Premier League club opening up its doors to its fan channels and fans forums and fans websites. That's unprecedented, because I've got a big theory on this. And I said in the meeting, didn't I? I said I thought newspapers were dying a death, really. And whilst I think newspapers are the way that opposition fans find out about West Ham fans don't. West Ham fans find out about West Ham news through West Ham Fan TV and everybody else. And that's how they do it. And I think we're an important conduit, a bridge to connect with fans. I was just pleased that the club have recognised that. That was my overriding feeling, really.
Jamie asked, did Extra Sam employee wear a mask? No, we now know who Extra Sam employee is. When I say we know who he isn't someone we knew before. It's not like he's an ex-player or that, but we now know what his face looks like. Callum asked about safe standing. Callum, we've already spoke about safe standing, I'm afraid. I'm not going to go into it again. I know you probably just joined the live stream, but you're going to have to go back and watch it at some point. Watch the whole hour, I'm afraid. But it's also on the forum. It's all this stuff we've discussed is on the forum. The link is below, because if you've got any questions, you're watching this on playback, you need to come onto the forum below and ask questions. I've also put the links to every other fan site on the forum. So the West Ham Fan TV video is on the forum. The link to These Up Mother Brown's article is on the forum. West Ham World is on the forum. I'll be putting Extra Time Employees podcast on the forum as well. So whenever another site that was there do something, it's going in there. Now it looks like Nicky's just appeared because he said he's missed it all. Can we start again? I'm afraid not, Nicky. I'm afraid not. Toby makes a good point though. He says running track cover, and there's quite a lot of people actually a bit annoyed by that, and that's not something we touched upon.
We missed it, didn't we?
What we did touch upon. I'm gonna say this because I forgot about this until Toby raised this. I think it was Nicky made it very clear at the reservation centre. Like, it goes back to the +2. We got mugged off a bit with the view. We felt like the view was mugged off, and that's when she said, well, from now on you're going to get an open day event, right? And we said, we got told the running track will be covered, and she said it is.
Well, it is, yeah.
I thought, right, okay, this is where.
And you said, you said, to be fair to yourself, you said what I said. You said, but not all of it.
Nicky was trying to say, you said the track will be covered. I, him, and most other people thought the whole track will be covered with seats. Karren Brady meant was part of it will be covered. So, is the running track covered? Well, yes to both questions, but we've just both got a different understanding of the meaning yes to that question. And she did kind of admit that we were misled, if you like. She did try and say, well, actually, it is still covered, but we were saying, well, that's not how we see it. We do not see that as covered. That's partially covered. The first 2 lanes are covered. No, that's not covered to us. As for the running track cover, we didn't mention it, I'm afraid, Toby, but it's something we can jot down and bring up in the future. Once the stewarding's finished, etc., we can say, well, actually, let's try and change stuff. Richie Rich wants new net colours in goal. We'll put that down as well. But keep your questions coming. I think I've probably missed 1 or 2. Gonzo, anything you want to add before we start wrapping this up?
No, I do. There's been a number of times today when I've clicked on and the green AstroTurf around the pitch has been brought up. So clearly that is an issue for lots of different people. In terms of us taking it on the forum, what you got to remember is, Gio took a bus down from Scotland yesterday to come to this meeting, jumped back on a bus afterwards, a 12-hour bus ride back from London to Scotland. He's too polite to say so himself. I travelled in to get back until midnight last night, and obviously we then have to do a video and do all this stuff. We don't have enough time to have the same on YouTube, on Facebook, and everywhere. So we've just put it all on the forums. That's where we're sort of answering the questions. There's just not enough time in a day. Just me personally. I've got to finish this. I'm not really in the toilet, by the way. Everyone thinks I'm in the toilet. I'm in the toilet. I'll show you some other time. But my wife wants to go and watch Silent Witness. So, we're just trying to get as much crammed in as we can. So that's why everything is on the forum.
Right. Last couple of questions. Stuart says £99 seats. We did bring it up, and she stuck to her guns a bit and said, well, we wanted to encourage kids. And we did say that maybe some of the kids' tickets have been misused, and she asked for some examples, and we gave a couple of examples. But then this is where she turned around on us and said, well, what do you want me to do about it? This is where we were stumped, actually. The whole room was a little bit like, well, I don't know, but we're just telling you what our problem is. And we didn't really have a solution as such, because everyone's got a different opinion on it. no one's got the same opinion. Stewards were all shouting the same thing. They're not good enough. With this £99 ticket, everyone in that room, to a man, everyone's had a slightly different opinion to the guy sitting next to you. So there was no definitive answer. So you've got an opinion on it. You can give it to us on the forum, etc. Roy Watson, Roy Wilson, I can't be my own right, and asked about flags. Roy talked about them. It's on the forum. It's good news, though, Roy.
Good news. Good news.
Yeah. But anyway, let's start wrapping this up. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Like I said, down below in the description is a link for the forum. We will answer any question, because this is not a PR stunt. You know, I can't get across enough. Everyone else is trying to do it as well. I've heard Nikki and X, etc. Graham from these other saying it. This is not a PR stunt. The club haven't said go out there and talk about this, but we're all opening ourselves up to use the viewers and the readers and the listeners to say, give us your questions, ask us anything. We're not hiding anything. If it was discussed, we'll tell you what the answers were. If it wasn't discussed, we'll bring up at the next one. You know, and if this stuff that she said is going to get done doesn't get done, we will be asking her why it wasn't done, and we will be doing a video in 3 months' time saying, well, we asked her why. Where is all the supporter liaison officers? You said you're going to have 50. There's still only 30. Where's the other 20? We are now going to ask her these questions. And
yeah, quite an important thing. This is separate. Someone asked earlier. This is separate from the SAB. The SAB is still going on. There is still a supporters advisory board. This is a separate thing. It's just an additional layer to get information to the club, from the fans to the club.
Yeah, well, Gonzo gave his roundup. All I'm going to say is, I was skeptical about this. I was a bit wary. I thought, not sure about this. Not sure. I had my arm twisted a little bit, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna take a leap of faith here. And all the fans that stepped into that room last night took a little bit of a leap of faith, right? Because we knew there's going to be, while a lot of people will say this is a good idea, there's always going to be those ones that go, you're lick arses now. There's a lot of people, right? There's a couple in the chat. I can see you right now. I get why you're thinking that, because I would if other people went in, we weren't right. I think, well, all right then, lick arses. But in that room, there was none of that going on whatsoever. She got a hard time. We didn't call her any names and we didn't swear at her. But apart from that, she got a harder time as possible. You know, she looked uncomfortable at times almost. There was a couple of times where she was having to go and run her hands through her hair and stuff, and she looked like she was getting pushed. And you know, I feel positive about it. I feel good. I felt it was a success, and this just opens up. Everyone can have their say in that meeting without being in the meeting next time, by going through the channels. There's ourselves, but there's every other channel that was there. You can go through them and say, I want this point raised, I want this point raised, and we will raise them. We will fight for the fans, because no one in that room last night sat in 114, but we fought for 114 in that room. 114 was high on the agenda, but none of us sit in 114. So it was quite clear from the word go that everyone in that room was sticking up for what they've read. Because while we read the opinions, etc., we don't just read them, we absorb them. We understand where you're coming from. When we don't understand where you're coming from, we ask. Say, what do you mean? Can you expand on that a little bit? And then most people do. So fair play to Karren. She didn't have to do it. She took a leap. I'm saying we took a leap of faith. She took a leap of faith as well. And I've got a lot of respect for her for doing that. But this is where now she's given us answers to our questions, but she's now got to go act on those answers. And like we said, we've got an email today. It looks like she's doing it. The proof's going to be in the pudding, though. The proof's going to be in the pudding. She's given us the words. She's now got to go do the actions, and that's what we're going to be judging her on from now on. So, anything you want to add, Gonzo?
Yeah, just on the final thing, just in our defence, and anyone else has been criticised and saying that we're stooges of the club and it's all the PR. When we were invited, we had a choice, really. We either didn't go and just say, no, actually we're going to not go and we're not going to get involved, or we went and perhaps had an opportunity to change something. If we hadn't have gone and we'd have just kept on whinging, then people could have pointed and say, well, actually you had an opportunity to change something, you actually had an opportunity to make a difference. And I like to think we've done that, and I like to think we keep our principles, we keep our morals, and make no mistake about it. Like you said, if we play terrible against Middlesbrough, then we're not going to be sitting here saying, "Oh, that was some brilliant performance." Don't you worry about it. If Slaven gets the team wrong or someone has an absolute mare, we'll be calling it. Don't worry about that.
Just in the live chat, there's still people saying that it's a PR. So what I will say is, the club did not tell us to do anything. The club haven't said anything about this meeting. It's all come from the fans. We weren't told you must go out there and say this and must say that. That's why our video is different to Nicky's. His video is different to Knees Up Mother.
We weren't even sure that we were allowed to. We weren't even sure that we were allowed to. When we were recording that video last night, I said, "Do you reckon it's all right to put this out? What do you reckon?" I mean, you know, is it? We just did it. I mean, there was no official thing.
To be fair, no. To be fair, we knew we were allowed because they said do what you want with it. Take what you want from this. Do what you want with it. We're not going to tell you to do anything. So I'm not going to say we didn't know if we were allowed. I knew I was allowed. We knew we were allowed. Because they said
no. What she said was, listen, you're going to have. We said, what are we allowed to say? What we are not allowed to say? What she said, listen, her very words were, and you know. She said, you're all intelligent people. You'll run your own websites or anything like that. You are going to have to decide how you want to put this out and how you want to do it and how you want to convey it. There was no instructions whatsoever. And that's what she said. And we didn't have any instruction at all. And we didn't know whether we should wait because we knew there was an email coming. And that's the truth. We knew there was an email coming. We didn't know if we should wait until the email confirmation before putting it out. The fact of the matter is you and me run up some stairs, stuck a camera on and just started recording. There's no PR there.
Well, to be fair, there was PR. This show is live. The club would, if there was a PR, the club would never ever let you do a live show and take questions from the viewers, which is what we've been doing. I've answered every single question. There's not been any more questions, I don't think. But anyway, that's it from us. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We'll be back on Saturday night. Actually, whoa. We'll be back tomorrow night, Thursday night. We're back with a preview from Middlesbrough. We've completely forgot about the football there. We're back that, and then we'll back live on Saturday doing Middlesbrough. And like we said earlier, if we get beat, good luck with this whole you're bought by the club, because we will be criticising the players, etc. We will be criticising Bilic or whoever needs criticised. We'll be doing what we'll go back. For me, this is not the end of it, because I'm going to answer the question before, but this is the last video I'm doing on the meeting. I'm not doing any more videos until the next meeting pops up. The next video is going to be a preview. The video after that will be a review. And the video after that is going to be me and Gonzo sitting down like we are now, talking about the latest transfer gossips and going, oh, where's my striker? Where's my right back? We're going back to normal now. Anyway, that's it. We've told you what was in the meeting. You've asked the questions. You can still ask the questions. It's on the forum. The link is below. If you want honesty, you've got it. It's goodbye from Gonzo.
It certainly is.
And it's goodbye from me. Thank you. Subscribe. See you later.